Hello everyone, here's a little tutorial about using in-ears and mixing your in-ears on your mobile device. You will need to have the SQ4U app for King's House, and then there's also the QU app for the Ethiopian Church, which acts in a very similar way. So this is all applicable for that other app. So the first thing you need to do is you come into this homepage and you'll see SQ7 desk should pop up on this menu here, but it doesn't. So that means we're probably not connected to the Wi-Fi. So we need to go to our settings, and indeed I'm connected to King's House at the moment, but I need to connect to this one here, KXC Worship. So I connect to that. If you ever can't connect, make sure that you've checked that. We go back to our app. This will pop up as SQ7. Now, it did take this a little while to pop up on my phone, so you sometimes have to be a bit patient. Once we're there, you can just click this connect button and you'll be taken to this screen. Now, again, before you do anything, the most important thing to do is go up to the top right here, mix select, and you've got to select your mix. Now, you'll notice at the moment it's selected to lead vocal 2. And now I'm going to do this video as if I was BV1. So this is the master volume. I am currently changing the lead vocalist or the worship leader to's main mix, and we can't have this. We need to be changing our own mix, which is BV1. So I have to go up to mix select and click on BV1. Once I've done that, you should see in this area here, it says BV1. So that's a good little confirmation that we're on the right thing. And then we've got these 4 panels, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are groups that we can assign different parts of the band to. So let's just double click on one of them and we come into this blank page, hopefully. This is the screen where you're going to choose what you actually want to hear in your ears. So to do that, I need to come up to assign on the top right. So I'm going to choose the things that I'd like to hear. So I'd like to hear BV1. And as you notice, when I click it, it goes green and it comes up with this little 1, which shows that we're in group 1. And in this band, for example, I think I've got some keys, so I'll choose keys. I'd like to hear the worship leader. I'd like to hear the MD and maybe the worship leader's acoustic guitar. Let's just assume it's a very small acoustic band. I'd like to hear some click as well. We're doing these songs to click. So once you've selected the things that you'd like to be able to change, and I would recommend you selecting every part of the band. And if you swipe to the right, you'll see some other things. So for example, Pro Presenter, this will be any kind of videos that are coming up on the screen during the service. Handheld 1 and handheld 2, and maybe the host mics. And then if you swipe again, you'll see some effects as well. So this one here, V-verb, is the vocalist's reverb. So if you want to have a little bit of that in your ears, you might want to select that too. Once I've done that, I click on back, and I now have some sliders, and I can swipe left to right to look at these. Now we come on to the main aspect of this video, which is how to construct your mix. This is something that is very easy to get wrong, and I really want to communicate effectively how to do this in a way that's going to really help you on a Sunday. So firstly, you can see we've got all these sliders in various places. This is probably the settings from the previous person. So I would say move everything down to 0, or to -infinity is the correct term, right at the bottom. Once you've done that, you want to start with the thing that is you. In this case, I'm BV1, so I want to put myself up to about this 0 line here, which is kind of like a default marker. You want to make sure that the thing that's most important, i.e. you're hearing yourself, is at that point, and you want to make sure that you can hear enough of it. So at the moment it says it's muted. So I'd need to say to the sound person, oh, excuse me, Mr. or Mrs. Sound Person, you have muted my microphone. Please could you unmute it? And hopefully, very kindly, they'll press a button and hey presto, it's unmuted. And you should be able to start seeing stuff come through. So I'm talking into my mic now and you'll see there's that green bar coming up. Okay, so that's working. You want to put your in-ears in and you want to make sure that it is loud enough for you. Now, what happens usually is when people can't hear enough, they either put this bar up higher, don't do that, or they go back and use this thing, which is our master volume, and they put that up to max. Don't do that either. The thing that you want to do instead is go to your actual pack, and if you see here, you want to move the volume up as far as you need it to be whilst you've got your BV on that 0 point. So that's just set at the kind of like default point. And then back to your pack, you want to set this so that it's loud enough, okay? If you need to put it up all the way, put it up all the way. Some people have more expensive / more powerful in-ears, and it means they only need to really go halfway on the pack at most. But some people have got headphones that are maybe not as powerful, and you need to probably put this pack up like right to maybe even 10. But the key thing is to set your pack correctly, and going back to the app now, set your pack correctly so that you can hear exactly what you need to hear of yourself with this point at the 0 point. Once you've done that, you can then put the other things at a lesser level to that. So, for example, I want to hear, where's the worship leader? So I want to hear them maybe up about this point. I want to make sure I've got a little bit of acoustic, maybe some little bit keys so I can hear what music's going on. Importantly, make sure you can hear the MD, put them fairly high, and then finally it's very good to have some click in your ears. Maybe for vocalists a little bit less click you can get away with, so it's not as distracting. For instrumentalists I would almost encourage you to have click just as loud as yourself, and finally a bit of reverb if you want that. So that's the key point, is starting with your own thing and mixing everything in underneath it. What often happens is everyone starts with, oh, I'm going to just start with the default amount of everything, and then once the band starts going, the acoustic guitar is really loud, the keys are really loud, the MD's really loud, the click's raging, and you're struggling to hear yourself, so you start pushing this up and you can't hear it, you still can't hear it, so you put the master volume up and you still can't hear it, and then, you know, whatever instrument you're on or vocalist, you start complaining, oh, I can't hear enough of myself, it all sounds a complete mess, and it will do. The best way to do this is to make sure that everything else is lower down and your own thing is at this 0 point. Now the final thing to mention is, you might say, well, what's the point for this extra headroom? Well, sometimes as an emergency you do need to just pop it up a little bit, but I would say don't get into the red zone. You can use that a little bit extra. Rather than lowering literally everything else, you might just want to pop this up a little bit, and that's a bit more convenient. So that's a little summary about how to use this app. Couple more kind of like hints and tips. If we go back, you notice there's 4 groups here. So sometimes, particularly if I'm on drums, I might put all of my drum stuff in here plus the click, and you can even name it. So I would go to here and I say drums, and then maybe in one of the other groups you put all the vocals. So maybe this one I'd call vocals, I'd put all the vocals in here. And then it's quite helpful, so you can have different groups of different things. These wheels are kind of like a master volume for each of these groups. I would advise not touching those. What's that? Another little hint and tip, if you go to the assign button up here, there's a little button that says clear, and you can clear all and it sets it back to the original default. Another little tip, like I was saying, try and keep this master volume at 0. Again, as a little emergency you can just push this, and if your pack's at maximum and you do need a little bit of extra headroom, then you can use that. Be careful of this mute button. This is the mute button for your whole mix, so make sure that's off, otherwise you won't be able to hear anything. If you remember before, we had this, we were BV1 and this was muted. Now, you can still change the level on the SQ mix. Unfortunately, on the QU app, which is the other app, the app that we use at the Ethiopian Church, one of the main differences, if this thing is muted, you can't actually change these levels, which is quite frustrating. So you'll have to ask the sound person to unmute this, and then you'll be able to change the slider. The last thing I want to say is sometimes connecting to the desk on these apps can be a bit difficult. That's partly because there's a maximum of 8 people that can connect at any one time. If you're having real trouble connecting, there's a couple of things you can do. You can ask other band members to log off, so they can press this log out button on the top left, or you can ask the MD and they should have access permanently, and you can ask them to make some changes. Thanks very much, everyone.